I'd always dreamed of living by the water, a quiet inlet on the edge of Clearwater Bay, with calm tides and sunsets that painted the horizon gold. When I found a neglected 2-acre lot for sale, tucked behind a line of mangroves, I knew it was mine. The house needed work, but the land, oh, the land, was pure serenity. A small dock stretched out into the bay, perfect for fishing or sipping coffee at dawn. I closed the deal quickly, thrilled to finally have a slice of paradise. But paradise didn't last long. Within weeks, I got a visit from a woman named Karen Miller, the president of the local homeowners association. Blonde bob, clipboard in hand, sunglasses that looked like they cost more than her car. She introduced herself with the smile of someone who'd already decided they didn't like me. This property, she said, pointing her pen toward my dock, falls under the jurisdiction of the Clearwater Cove HOA. I frowned. I'm not part of the HOA. This lot was excluded when the neighborhood was developed. My realtor confirmed it. She chuckled, like I was a child who'd said something cute but wrong. Oh, we'll see about that. That was my first taste of what it meant to live near Karen. Within days, I got notices taped to my mailbox about supposed violations, improper fence color, unapproved landscaping, even my mailbox being non-conforming. She'd also reported me to the county for unauthorized dock construction, even though it had been built decades before I moved in. Neighbors warned me she did this to everyone. She'd bullied one couple into repainting their home 3 times and fined another for having a kayak rack visible from the street. But Karen had a particular fire for me. Maybe it was because my house wasn't under her control. Still, I kept my head down. I fixed what I could, filed the proper paperwork, and even tried being polite. But it only seemed to fuel her determination. Every week brought a new letter, a new accusation. Then one day, a certified letter arrived. It was from the HOA attorney, claiming that part of my land, nearly a quarter-acre along the water, was community property. That belonged to the HOA under easement. They demanded I remove my dock and vacate the area. That's when I realized Karen wasn't just being difficult. She was trying to take my land. And I wasn't about to let that happen. I spent that night digging through every document I had, closing statements, property plats, deed records. Sure enough, my property line extended 20 feet beyond where Karen claimed the community boundary began. I even found a county survey map that confirmed it. The next morning, I visited the county records office in person. The clerk, an older man who'd worked there for decades, looked up the files and whistled. "You've got clear title," he said. "Looks like the HOA never owned that strip. Probably an old platting error they've been assuming was theirs. An error Karen was trying to turn into a land grab." I tried reasoning with her. I showed her the survey and deed. She just smirked. "Our board disagrees," she said. "If you don't vacate, we'll pursue legal action. The waterfront is meant for community access." "Community access?" I repeated. "It's my backyard." She shrugged. "You can either cooperate or fight it in court. Either way, you'll lose." That was it. I hired an attorney, real estate and property law. A no-nonsense guy named Daniel Price. He looked at the documents and laughed. "They've got no leg to stand on. Let's push back hard." We filed a formal response, demanding the HOA retract their claim or face a lawsuit for harassment and trespassing. Within a week, Karen escalated. She started knocking on neighbors' doors, spreading rumors that I'd stolen public land. HOA newsletters started calling my dock an illegal structure. Soon, people I'd waved to every morning stopped saying hello. Someone even spray-painted "land thief" on my fence. But Daniel stayed calm. "They're bluffing," he said. "We'll take it to mediation, and when they see the documents, they'll back down." Mediation day came. Karen showed up in a bright red blazer, clutching her binder like a weapon. When the mediator asked her for evidence, she produced a faded, photocopied map from the 1980s, no signatures. No stamps, nothing official. Daniel calmly slid our survey across the table. Certified county document, he said. Filed with the deed office, signed, sealed, and recorded. Karen's face turned the color of her jacket. But she didn't give up. We'll appeal, she snapped. Be my guest, Daniel said. Every appeal just racks up your HOA's legal fees. The mediator ruled in our favor. The land was mine, legally, permanently. But that wasn't the end. Karen wasn't going to walk away quietly. And soon, her obsession would backfire in a way she never could have imagined. After the ruling, Karen went silent for about 2 weeks. I almost let myself believe she'd given up. But then, flyers started appearing around the neighborhood, anonymous. Of course, claiming I planned to commercialize the waterfront and destroy the ecosystem. One morning, I woke to find a county inspector at my door, responding to a complaint about unpermitted construction. The supposed violation. My old dock again. The inspector sighed when he saw it. We get these calls from HOAs all the time. Don't worry, you're fine. That's when I stopped playing defense. If Karen wanted to make my land a battlefield, I'd make it a chessboard. I started looking into development possibilities, not because I wanted to build anything, but because I wanted to know exactly what my property was worth. And what I discovered blew my mind. The county had recently rezoned the area for high-value residential redevelopment. Meaning, my lot, especially with its private waterfront, was worth a fortune. Daniel helped me reach out to a few real estate developers quietly. Within a month, I had 3 offers, each higher than the last. The highest, $10 million. I wasn't sure if I wanted to sell yet, but I decided to let Karen find out anyway. At the next HOA meeting, I showed up. Legally, I wasn't a member, but they couldn't stop me from attending. Karen's eyes narrowed when I sat in the back. When the floor opened for community updates, I raised my hand. Just wanted to let everyone know, I said, that a developer is interested in buying my property for $10 million. They're considering luxury townhomes, possibly with shared waterfront access. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's jaw fell open. You can't do that. That would ruin the neighborhood. I smiled. It's my land, remember? The one you fought to prove wasn't yours. By the next day, my phone was blowing up. Neighbors who'd ignored me were suddenly friendly again. Karen, however, was livid. She stormed up to my door demanding to know who the buyer was. Sorry, I said. Confidential. She screamed that she'd fight it to the end, that I was destroying her community. But I wasn't destroying it. I was cashing out. And Karen had handed me the reason and the motivation to do it. Negotiations took months, but the deal closed smoothly. The developer wired $10 million straight into my account. I'd bought the property for $480,000. Just 3 years earlier. When the sale went public, the neighborhood imploded. Karen called an emergency HOA meeting, begging the board to appeal the zoning decision. But it was too late. The county approved the development plans almost instantly: luxury condos, private docks, a marina cafe. The land Karen had tried to take was now slated to become the centerpiece of the very community she'd tried to control. And she couldn't stop it. I moved to a quiet town up the coast, bought a sleek modern house with an even better view, and never looked back. But one afternoon, a few months later, I got an email from a former neighbor. It contained a single photo: bulldozers tearing down the old HOA clubhouse. The caption read, "Guess who's not president anymore?" I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. Later, Daniel called me just to check in. You know, he said, if Karen had just left you alone, you'd probably still be there. He was right. I'd never planned to sell. I loved that property. But the relentless harassment, the bogus claims, the stress, it all pushed me to see the bigger picture. By trying to control me, Karen had ended up destroying everything she wanted to protect. 2 years later, Clearwater Cove condos became one of the most exclusive developments on the Gulf Coast. Waterfront units started at $2 million each. The developer even named the main dock after the original property line. Pier 10. Sometimes, I pull up the listings just to smile at the photos. That little slice of paradise had turned into a fortune. And every time I see the view of the sunset over the water, I think back to Karen's face in that mediation room, the red blazer, the trembling hands, the disbelief that she'd lost. In the end, she tried to take my land. But all she did was make it worth $10 million.